Mr. Larson, Mr. Leonards, faculty, staff, administration, students, parents, guests, and friends of the class of 2020. As a representative of the class of 2020, I would like to welcome you to this commencement ceremony. I hope everyone is doing well, safe, and healthy, and just keeping a positive mindset. These past few weeks have been full of unexpected transitions, and not gonna lie, at first I was super happy about having one more week extended to our spring break. However, as it went, that 1 week turned into 2, 3, 4, and in the blink of an eye, in-person classes were no longer a thing for the rest of the school year. I mean, I'm sure none of us saw that coming. I know this isn't something that the class of 2020 nor anybody else was expecting, but let's try to look at the bright side and just use this time to self-reflect, explore, and try different and new things. As an example, you could ask Becca to dye your hair blue. Anyways, shout out to that one friend of mine who wished their life was just like in the movies. I guess your dream came true after all, because sooner or later there would be people making really creative books and movies about this whole pandemic. Oh well, to be honest, even though an online commencement might not be the most fun thing to do right now, I still am glad to share and experience it with you guys. After this whole unexpected pandemic situation, it's been a really hard thing for me to say goodbye to the people around me. So I guess what I want to say is, live your day as if it was the last. I love and miss you guys. Don't forget that we're in this together. Welcome again. Congratulations to the class of 2020. Hope you enjoy your online commencement.
Let us pray. O eternal God, bless all colleges, schools, and universities, and especially Wayland Academy, that they may be lively centers for sound learning, new discovery, and the pursuit of wisdom. And grant that those who teach and those who learn may find you to be the source of all truth. Amen.
Hello, Wayland community. I would like to start by offering the senior class a sincere and heartfelt congratulations. I hope that mindfulness has become a tool that you carry in your toolbox well beyond your years at Wayland. If you would please now find a comfortable seat, allowing your belly and your shoulders to relax, softening your gaze, or perhaps closing your eyes. And I would like to offer you a mindfulness practice to help to cultivate a positive future. It's a chance to connect with that place inside us that works toward a life of meaning and fulfillment. This is a useful way to consider how we care for ourselves and others, and how to show up at our best to meet life's challenges. Before we start, take a full breath in and a long, slow, complete breath out. Now, allow the breath to find its natural rhythm. In and out, allowing yourself to be fully present with your breath. I'll provide you with questions to prompt ideas and responses that can help to find a positive future. Throughout this practice, let your body and mind feel loose and open. Repeat the questions I offer silently and to yourself. Resist the urge to problem solve, and see if anything comes up on its own organically. If nothing comes to mind, you can always continue to rest your attention on the breath until something comes up. Let's begin. Ask yourself, what kind of a future do I feel deeply moved towards? Notice the thoughts, feelings, and images that come to mind. Meanwhile, remembering to breathe, breathing in and breathing out. As you hold this positive future in your mind, what feelings are present? Here's some more questions to help you explore the future you deeply are moved toward. How can I show up in a way that will allow this positive future to unfold? How can I show up fully for the opportunities that I encounter? What do I want to be in relation to others? What might get in the way, and how will I move beyond it? What are the skills or capabilities I will need to get there? How might practice support this future? See yourself right now in this positive future and reflect on the things you did that enabled you to get there. See yourself doing some of those things. Maybe it's spending time with family, or engaging in a daily practice that supports clarity and focus. Maybe it's putting your energy into learning new things. Or maybe it's how you allow yourself to connect with others. See those things in your mind's eye and notice what it feels like as you imagine doing them. You can come back to these thoughts anytime to rediscover connection to a place inside that's ready to create that positive future. Can you take the feeling with you as you head back to your day and beyond? Can you allow it to guide you to interact with your world right now? Let's finish this positive future practice now, taking a full breath in and a full, complete breath out. You may now blink your eyes open. I hope you have a wonderful day, and again, congratulations to the seniors.
The salutatorian of the class of 2020 is a four-year student from Beaver Dam. He is described as a generalist, excelling in every subject we teach and some we don't. He's an actor as well as a football player who transitioned from a lineman to a cross-country runner. For his senior capstone project, he built a forge and taught himself how to be a blacksmith. He will be attending the University of Nebraska on a full tuition scholarship next fall. It gives me great pleasure to introduce the salutatorian of the class of 2020, Robert Stenzel.
Ladies and gentlemen, students and parents, friends and loved ones, good afternoon. Today we celebrate the graduation of Wayland Academy's class of 2020, our last hurrah before being thrown into the real world. But before I begin, I'd like to thank a few people for all they've done for me over the course of high school. Thank you to my friends who have been with me for the last few years. From weekend games of D&D to having heated debates on what constitutes a sandwich, from the ever-contentious topic of whether water is wet or not, to memorable games of quiplash and fibbage, we've experienced quite a lot in our time together. We've seen each other at our best and at our worst and managed to stick it out through it all. Thank you for all the wonderful memories, and I sincerely hope the end of high school is not the end of our friendship. Thank you to every one of the faculty and staff that I've had the pleasure of interacting with during my 4 years at Wayland. You made me feel far less like a simple student and more like a fellow individual through candid conversations and discussions in and outside of the classroom. You helped dispel the mystique surrounding teachers and showed me that you're all approachable people with interests and lives who simply want the best for us. Thank you for all of your hard work and for putting up with me for the last few years. Last but certainly not least, thank you to my parents, who I still affectionately refer to as Mommy and Daddy. You both have worked so hard to ensure I grew up comfortably and happily and gave me an unforgettable high school career. Whether I realize it or not, your first thought is always of me, and you strive to make sure that I have as bright of a future as you can give me. I love you both so much, and I could never begin to repay the debt I owe you for making me into the person I am today. Now, normally this speech would be delivered in front of a live crowd of familiar faces and family members. Students would break out into a roar of applause as someone walked across the stage to grab their diploma. Parents would cheer and cry for their son or daughter, and friends would jokingly jeer them. It would be a time of togetherness, a chance to say last goodbyes, and a means of catharsis for all. All of this was to be expected. Instead, here we are, scattered across the globe and robbed of our moment of triumph. Friends will not have the chance to say goodbye one final time. Families will not see their children proudly take their first steps into adulthood. It feels cold and impersonal. It's nothing we could have ever expected. And yet we move on. In the face of this pandemic, we continue on with the ceremony, be it as it may. We match pace with life's obstacles and slowly overcome them. We move things online, change plans to accommodate our new surroundings. We march onward to the steady beat of change, because that's what we do best, what our class does best. Now, I don't know if it's an ill omen of our future, or if it's just plain bad luck, but the class of 2020 has had the chance to see the world drastically change right before their eyes. We were born into a post-9/11 world, irrevocably altered by the tragedy of the World Trade Center attacks. We lived through the uncertainty and the despair of the stock market crash of 2008. And now we'll graduate through the COVID-19 pandemic of 2020. It's to be expected. We've always gotten through things like this. As human beings, we tend to focus on tragedy and strife. It makes sense. Remembering something that went wrong helps us ensure something like it will never happen again. But I think we focus on it too much, at the expense of other things. We live in a society that sensationalizes any and all news, leaving us with a warped perception of reality. It's trained us to concentrate on the next major catastrophe, to always be on our guard. While skepticism and preparation are healthy, we disregard a crucial fact. We've always prevailed in the end. Though tragedy and strife dot the landscape of human history, we've continued on nonetheless. Humanity is a resilient bunch, and our class is no exception. Wayland is a school that prides itself on diversity, but the variety in our curriculum is our true strength. During the Renaissance, there was a concept that drove most of the great thinkers of the period, like Leon Battista Alberti and Leonardo da Vinci. L'uomo universale, the well-rounded individual, the Renaissance man. Someone well-versed in a multitude of areas who strives to become the most knowledgeable in everything they can. It's an idea that I hold close to my heart and aspire toward, and it's something that's been naturally weaved into our everyday lives by attending Wayland. Fellow classmates, whether you realize it or not, we are all prepared for whatever the future may hold. Our education has molded us into multifaceted adults. We have never been the most unified class, but what we lack in commonality, we make up for tenfold in adaptability. The future is uncertain and frightening, yes, but within us is the strength to overcome it and become something greater than the sum of our parts. We can't say with any conviction what we should expect in the coming days, but there is one thing that we can take solace in. The class of 2020 is ready to tackle the challenges of tomorrow, no matter what they are. I'd like to end with a quote from Renaissance philosopher Giovanni Pico del Mirandola from his oration on the dignity of man. God made man a creature of indeterminate and indifferent nature, and, placing him in the middle of the world, said to him, Adam, we give you no fixed place to live, no form that is peculiar to you, nor any function that is yours alone. According to your desires and judgment, you will have and possess whatever place to live, whatever form, and whatever functions you yourself choose. All other things have a limited and fixed nature, prescribed and bounded by our laws. You, with no limit or no bound, may choose for yourself the limits and bounds of your nature. We have placed you at the world's center so that you may survey everything else in the world. We have made you neither of heavenly nor of earthly stuff, neither mortal nor immortal, so that with free choice and with dignity you may fashion yourself into whatever form you choose. To you is granted the power of degrading yourself into the lower forms of life, the beasts, and to you is granted the power contained in your intellect and judgment to be reborn into the higher forms, the divine. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Shelley Greenwood. I'm a graduate of the Wayland Academy class of 1973 and a proud member of Wayland's Board of Trustees. It's my pleasure and honor this morning to introduce your commencement speaker. First, I want to say congratulations to the class of 2020 and wish you all the best as you leave the academy and go on to your lives. Please make sure to stay in touch with all of us and tell us what you're doing. Mr. Lennertz is a very special friend of mine. He and I actually started teaching together in 1978 the year that he began at Wayland. 9 years later, I moved on to work in other school settings. Mr. Leonard's remained for 42 years, as many of you know. He started as a Spanish teacher. He lived in Wayland Hall, I believe in the third floor apartment originally, went on to become the head resident, moved down to the first floor, stayed there for many years, eventually was appointed the academic dean, a role that he held for several years, overseeing all of the academic achievements and developments at the Academy. And then, during times of change at the Academy, he was asked to step into the ultimate leadership role, acting head of school, interim head of school, and finally head of school, the role that you all know him in today. Mr. Leonard's is a remarkable person. You will never meet anyone who cares more for the Academy. You will never find anyone who is more steady in his commitment to Wayland and all of the things that it has been, is, and will become. We wish him well. We will miss him terribly, but the good news is he'll still be nearby. And as he passes the baton to Jason Warnick, we know that we are going from great hands to great hands. Please join me in welcoming today's commencement speaker, Mr. Joseph Leonards.
Mr. Larson, trustees, students, colleagues in the faculty and staff, parents, and friends of the class of 2020, good morning. First and foremost, congratulations to the class of 2020 on what is a momentous day in your lives. We are proud of you and proud of your resilience in these challenging times. After the frustrations and hard work and happiness and recent disappointment of not being on campus, it is time for us to set your graduates onto a different task. I sincerely hope that my colleagues and I have done a good job in preparing you for the next part of your journey. We wish you the best as you move from Beaver Dam into the world to take up new challenges and adventures. Second, this is a day of celebration of sorts for me too, and I want to share my celebration with you. You see, in a sense, I get to graduate too. Not exactly today, but in about 40 days. You and I have something in common at this ceremony. We're both leaving the Academy. My time at Wayland has been a bit longer than yours. After 42 years of living in this community like no other, it is time for me to go on to other adventures too. Some of these will still involve the Academy, but I look forward to setting my own schedule and exploring some interests that I have put on hold for far too long. Since I've been tasked with speaking to you and the rest of the Wayland community this morning, I thought I'd give you a bit of my history at the Academy. Often we know you all quite well, but by the very nature of what we do, you don't necessarily know a lot about us. And there are reasons for that. But today is the day to let you know a bit about how I got here and why I've stayed for so long. Had I attended Wayland, I would have sat in your seat in Lindsay in June of 1970. Yes, that's 50 years ago. Instead, I was in a large gymnasium where I spent 4 years in high school. Truth be told, I have pictures of my high school graduation, but I have no firsthand memory of that day. I seem to have blocked that day out, and no amount of looking at the pictures over the last 50 years has served to make the day come back to me. Not all memories of high school have been erased, though. I have especially good memories of some classes and events. I took several speech classes from Sister Mary Wilma, that was her name, and remember quite well her instructions to stand up straight and still, enunciate, don't make eye contact with the first row, but rather scan the whole audience, and most importantly of all, breathe. Her lessons were invaluable later when it became necessary to talk to larger groups of people. I also have good memories of being involved with a service organization and spending time helping others on projects and helping with theater productions too. I went to a very good private day school in the Chicago area and was very well prepared for college and beyond. But I spent 4 years in a high school where I did not feel part of the community. I was not a jock and grew up literally on the wrong side of the tracks in a working class family. I also found a home in the theater, which in that time and place was another big sin. Instead of just letting me get on with my interests, I was perceived to be different by students and even by some faculty who pointed out those differences nonstop, sometimes rather brutally. Not physically, but I learned very quickly at that time that words can hurt more than being punched. I threw myself into studying and reading, mostly spent time alone, and that's probably the origin of my introversion today. I really would rather be reading a book right now. Fortunately, I found an accepting community at Beloit College where I was able to be as idiosyncratic as everyone else. And then 4 years later, Wayland and I found each other. It was a rocky start from that first June of 1978. I took the bus from Madison and remember walking up Park Avenue and entering the campus for the first time at the corner. As I passed Wayland Hall, a young man said hi and asked if he could help me. That welcome has stayed with me all these years. Monsieur Sampon from the language department started the conversation that day. Mr. Firke and Mr. Safeman were welcoming and quite helpful. And I thought the conversation with Mr. Burnham, the president at that time, went well. I left that day thinking that I could see myself living and working here. Unfortunately, I was not hired that day. Instead, the academy needed a Spanish teacher and a basketball coach. Guess who won? The school hired a basketball coach who incidentally could teach Spanish. So I continued my job search, visiting schools in New York and Colorado, but kept coming back to Madison and hoping that Wayland could be in my future at some point. I was really desperate to be somewhere where I could merge my personal and professional lives. And then one day, about a month later, I got a call, and that was where it all started. That August, I was thrown headfirst into residential life at Wayland Hall, teaching 5 classes of all levels of Spanish and learning how to navigate this community. There were many challenges, and each presented me an opportunity to grow over the years. Head resident of Wayland Hall, chair of the language department, academic dean, numerous ad hoc committees on things, and then the question that I had actively avoided for many years: will you lead the school? Wayland was at a crossroads with some pressing problems on several fronts. I was comfortable in my academic role and thought that I had reached the highest level of my own incompetence, but the board knew better. I served as interim president for 1 year while the school searched for a new leader. That year was immortalized by an Andrew McDonald film, My Year in the Chair, that some of you may have seen. I was happy to return to the academic office after the board appointed a new president, but you guessed it, I was not to be left alone. A bit over a year later, the board asked me to lead the academy full-time through some difficult situations again. As I said, I never aspired to the position, but I will tell you that my worst fears about the position never materialized, and I quite enjoyed some of the new challenges. And then, in the words of Monty Python, no one expects the Spanish Inquisition. Going into spring break of this year seemed fairly normal for all of us, but we ended up in a new place and were faced with finishing the semester in a very new way. The administration, in a very short time, actually prepared several different scenarios for resuming life on campus, but it was not meant to be. I cannot tell you how happy I am to be working with colleagues in the administration, faculty, and staff who rose to the challenge and sought creative ways to deliver the mission of the school. It was not a perfect response, but it was the necessary response to what daily seemed to be an impossible situation. And so we've not been in the same space, Kimberly, Pickard, Lindsay, the field house, since the end of February, and yet we're still a community. And so here I am 9 or so years later in my final year at Wayland. I'm still not a jock and more of a loner than a joiner, but this community, students, faculty, staff, alumni, accepted me and made me feel so comfortable. I understand now why I never left. So that's how I got here and wound up as head of school. Now let me focus on what I've learned here and for the penultimate time, give you some advice. In the last several years, we've heard from retiring faculty and staff in what at the university level is called the last lecture, the last chance for a retiring professor to impart some wisdom gained over his or her working life. We've heard examples of this in the previous commencement from Mr. Saitman, Ms. Alpa, and Mr. Boucher most recently. This is my opportunity to tell you something I've not said before. It's hard to believe that after all these years and in all these situations I have spoken with you, there's anything new to say. But I'll take just a few minutes and prolong this separation anxiety you and I are feeling with a few things that I've learned. First, find a community and belong, and then share that common space with others. The next step in your journey will probably not be as quickly accepting of you as we here at Wayland were, and you may have to work a bit harder to find the community, but you must find it. Though your families may continue to be loving and close, the support of friends and colleagues is essential as you navigate the next steps in your lives. Second, Mr. Cleary talks about the unwritten rules we have in this place. I'll only reinforce a couple of them. Be kind, accept one another, care for one another, be helpful to one another, open doors for one another, and always say please and thank you. Third, collaboration is good. Working together in class or on a team brings about valuable results. But remember, you don't need a committee to turn out the lights. Sometimes you just have to act. 4, always celebrate each other's successes. Remember the way to go is in assembly. You don't need to clap 3 times, but take the time to congratulate someone on their accomplishments. 5, leadership and fellowship are equally important. One of the most important leadership lessons is realizing that you are not the most important nor the most intelligent person in the room at all times. Find out who is and then follow that person. 6, find your room of requirement, also known as by the house elves as the come and go room or the room of hidden things. Find that secret place that only appears when you most need it. 7, one of my favorite outcomes of a Wayland education is that you are not afraid of facing a challenge and overcoming it. If this last quarter means anything, it's that we have met the challenge and are overcoming it. 8, set your priorities. 100 years from now, it will not matter what your bank balance was, the sort of house you lived in, or the kind of car you drove. But the world may be a better place because you were influential in the life of a child. 9, and finally, on the cover of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, there's a phrase that is used throughout the book: don't panic. Now more than ever, don't panic. In April of 2019, when I announced that I would be retiring, I told the old school assembly that for me the most important role over the years here has been as a teacher. I have most enjoyed being in the classroom, working with fellow teachers, and helping students. That has not changed any in my role as head of school. I'm grateful for the extraordinary trust and support I've received from the entire Wayland community. This campus has been alive with diversity, promise, and energy, and will be once again very soon. It's been a remarkable place to work and live for the last 42 years. I want to thank you all for making this such a great place to live and learn and giving me the opportunity to play a part. Thank you.
The Weimer K. Hicks Achievement Award is given to that senior who, in the estimation of the faculty, has shown marked progress in all phases of Wayland life over the senior year. This year's recipient is Elizabeth Fogarty. Congratulations.
The Wayland Academy Writing Award is presented to a senior in recognition of his or her outstanding writing while a student at the Academy. The award is given at commencement to highlight the goals of the Wayland Writing Initiative. The winners are inscribed on a plaque which hangs in Roundy Hall. The winners of the Wayland Writing Award for 2020 are Allison Pierce and Catherine Tyransky. Congratulations to both.
The Wayland Alumni Association presents 2 awards, known as the Alumni Memorial Service Awards, for service to the school. The honor is granted irrespective of class, scholastic, or athletic ability to that young man and to that young woman who have, in the opinion of the faculty, made valuable contributions to Wayland through unselfish service and generous giving of their time and talents. The winners' names are inscribed on a plaque which hangs in Roundy Hall. The first recipient is Saghi Roknadini. The second recipient is Alex Walker. Congratulations.
The Board of Trustees Awards go to that young woman and that young man who have demonstrated an interest in Wayland and whose performances have helped to create loyalty and dedication toward the goals and objectives embraced in a Wayland education. Their contributions to dormitory living, extracurricular activities, and all other phases of campus life are considered in making these awards. The first recipient is Sahi Rakhnadini, and the second recipient is Danny Liu.
The Glenn and Ella Dye Award. In 1979, Wayland Academy initiated the Glenn and Ella Dye Award in memory of 2 former alumni, benefactors, and trustees. The award is given to that student, irrespective of class, whose behavior is exemplary in religious earnestness and moral sensitivity. Our recipient today is Nawaf Al-Talal. Congratulations, Nawaf.
In 1995, Ralph Robinson of the class of 1964 established an award in memory of one of his Wayland classmates, James P. Freeman. This award is presented annually by the members of the senior class to the individual who exemplifies the characteristics of Jim Freeman in his or her relationships with others. Jim Freeman was recognized as a non-judgmental friend to all groups, an individual who was open and available to anyone, and who gave of himself to others without expectation of gain. Jim demonstrated loving kindness equally to everyone with whom he interacted. On behalf of the class of 2020, I am pleased to present the James P. Freeman President's Award today to Elizabeth Fogarty.
The Wiser Cup is given to the young man who has best fulfilled the following standards. Won his letter in one sport and taken part in 2 others, has a satisfactory scholastic standing, is outstanding in leadership and all forms of activity, and whose sportsmanship is unquestioned. This year's Wiser Cup recipient is Maurice Walker. Congratulations, Reese.
The Kip Myers Sports Cup is primarily an athletic award based on the following qualifications. The recipient must be a member of the girls' varsity club in good standing, must have earned a varsity letter in at least one sport, must have satisfactory scholastic standing, and must have displayed good citizenship and lofty ideals of sportsmanlike conduct in a variety of undertakings. The 2020 Kip Meyer Cup is awarded to Henrietta Bellick Lowndes. Congratulations!
The Edwin Putnam Brown Award, named for a former head of school, is the most significant honor bestowed upon a young man at Wayland Academy. The award is given to that senior who, with a sense of social responsibility and with fine school loyalty, has shown the highest type of leadership. His name is inscribed on a plaque in Roundy Hall, and the recipient receives his own award. It gives me great pleasure to present the 2020 Edwin Putnam Brown Award to Matthew Wagner. The Laura A. McDonald Award, named for a longtime influential faculty member, is the most significant honor bestowed upon a young woman at Wayland Academy. It is given to the senior whose actions and demeanor bespeak self-respect, courteous consideration of others, and loyalty to the Academy and its traditions. She must be a leader in scholarship and other school activities. Her name is inscribed on a plaque in Roundy Hall, and the recipient receives her own inscribed award. It gives me great pleasure to present the 2020 Laura A. McDonald Award to Elizabeth Fogarty.
The Head of School Award is a special award given on those occasions when students deserve special recognition for long-term contributions to the student body and the community of Wayland Academy. These students are dedicated, kind, hardworking leaders in and outside of the classrooms. On the recommendation of the faculty, I'm pleased to present this Head of School Award to Elizabeth Tolman.
Here we are, tying up the loose ends and saying last goodbyes to all our friends. Here we are, making all the right moves and moving on to new things, starting over again. Where we're going to is still hard to say, but I know we'll come back someday, holding on to all the things you've taught us and thanking you for showing us the way. There we were, seeing things the first time and sorting out the reason from the right. There you were, always there to guide us, mapping out the mountains that we had to climb. Oh, you took us in your hands and shaped us like clay, and helped prepare us for this day. See us now, shining in your love light, and thanking you for showing us the way. You watched us all grow older. You helped us look ahead. You'll be there on my shoulder in my times of need. I'll hear the words that you said, the words that you said. Here we are, tying up the loose ends and saying last goodbyes to all our friends. Here we are, making all the right moves and moving on to new things, starting over again. Oh, where we're going to is still hard to say, but I know and thanking you for showing us the way.
Holding on to all the things you've taught us,
And thanking you for showing us the way.
The valedictorian of the class of 2020 is a tireless worker who seems to handle every academic challenge Wayland has offered and excelled in all areas. A two-year prefect, he's a quiet but firm leader. He's probably spent more time helping other people with their math homework than he has doing his own. His senior capstone was a rock concert that blew the roof off of Kimberly Chapel. He has a good sense of humor and is one of the kindest people at the Academy. He will be attending Washington University in St. Louis on a full scholarship next fall. It gives me great pleasure to introduce the valedictorian of the class of 2020, Matthew Wagner.
Good morning, everyone. We are often told one of the many things which makes Wayland a unique place is the diversity within its student body. We hear this so often that we sometimes lose sight of what it really means. Wayland does tick the boxes of diversity in race, religion, geographic origin, and socioeconomic background, qualities we typically associate with a diverse community, and those differences contribute to a better understanding of each other and of our world. What strikes me most about Wayland students, however, is the diversity of their backgrounds. Each student has their own unique story to tell, and all of them have somehow led us to this same place. As humans, we are quick to make assumptions about each other, but we can never understand how our paths came to converge at Wayland and what the school has done for us until we hear those stories. My story, like those we hear in Mr. Cleary's chapel talks, has prompted me to question morals, challenge ideals, and come to terms with living in an imperfect world. As a young child, I had everything. The world was mine to enjoy. When I was 9, though, my parents split unexpectedly, and I was told to let strangers decide what was best for me. I soon realized that their vision of my life greatly differed from my own, and a long, painful war began for the right to determine my own future. Experts were hired to change my mind, and those who shared my opinions quickly disappeared. It became apparent that everyone who had picked their sides and dug their heels into the ground, no amount of reasoning was changing anyone's mind. Things spiraled out of control until the people who had been hired to help me had assigned me a fictional personality. Mentally ill, friendless, a juvenile delinquent, they said my future was hopeless. I was sent to hospital programs to reinforce this personality, and a private report said I could never succeed in high school. The hospitals disagreed, however, and another report done by the public school said I would do fine in any high school. The evidence had become as polarized as the people involved. When summer came, the summer before high school, I was threatened with all kinds of punishments if I didn't agree to live out someone else's version of my own childhood. Plans were cautiously made to send me to boarding school, and as the summer came to a close with neither side backing down, there was no choice but to carry out the threat. I was sent to Wayland. As it turns out, though, Wayland was just what I needed. A chance to start over and build a life which was independent of my past. Some of my best memories are of experiencing things for the first time, which became common to me at Wayland. The first time I ever wanted to do work in humanities. The first time in cross country, when I realized I was contributing to the team after being helped so much by others. The first conversation with a friend that was about who we really were and not just what we enjoyed. My first night in the Union and my first adventure off campus. Times when I realized I was free to choose my own interests and experiences. From those first moments to more recent memories of a concert and a trip to Chicago, those who I've come to know at Wayland have done what few others could. helped me grow without telling me which path to take. I came to Wayland with many questions raised by my childhood experiences. Why would people work so hard to cause a child so much distress? Why was my opinion wrong from the start? How could so many people want to help me when so few were willing to take action to do so? In my time at Wayland, I was given the tools necessary to answer many of these questions. I came to understand that there are no inherently bad people, and that those in my situation, while misguided, were still trying to do what they saw as right. Although I have been able to reflect on the mistakes I've made before coming to Wayland, and there are certainly things I would do again if given a chance, I am doubtful that the last 4 years of my life could have been better spent anywhere else. I'm sure many of you have experienced more painful and challenging times than I have. Everyone has a unique story, and I hope that the school has done for you what it did for me, giving you a safe place to learn, grow, explore, and find answers to questions which have been brought up in your own lives. It's amazing that all of our stories, the paths we all took, converged at Wayland, and that we have been able to unite as one school under the common goal of bettering each other, to understand each other instead of letting our differences divide us. Much as I have changed, I have seen the other members of the class of 2020 go through incredible growth over the last 4 years. These are difficult times. Many of us have already left our 4-year home, a place where our paths once converged, and they now diverge as we spread across the world, facing an uncertain future. What I have seen among the members of the class of 2020 leads me to believe that we will rise up to the challenges facing us and accomplish great things. We may be limited as humans to only doing so much in our lives, but I know that I'm speaking to a group of people who live with the righteous intent to help others, and that by the time our paths inevitably converge once again, we will each have left our own mark on the world because of what we were able to experience here together. Thank you.
Would the senior class of Wayland Academy please rise? Mr. Larson, I'm pleased to present to you the Wayland Academy class of 2020. They have been judged by the faculty of the Academy to be fully qualified and in all ways worthy of the secondary school diplomas, which we ask you to confer at this time.
Good morning, everyone. As the chairman of the Board of Trustees at Wayland Academy, and with the full authority of the Board of Trustees, I hereby confer upon each of you the status of secondary school graduates and welcome you to our Society of Scholars. Would each of you, in turn, please come forward and receive your diploma, which is a symbol of your great accomplishment. Thank you.
Arda Bakara, Henrietta Belloc Lowndes, Torrance Bennett, Marielle de Guzman, Jaspreet Dillon, An Do, Wada El Jazuli, Charles Eubanks, Elizabeth Fogarty, Giselle Garcia, Chloe Hypek, Tamaki Hashiramoto, Galen Rebecca Langto Hodlowski, Casey Annie Hallbrook, Jing Jin, Haley Johnson, Alexander Kalinda, Amy Camajo, Norden Lama. Tien Jen Lee. Tien Kio Lee. Danny Liu. Abby Ludke. Yao Meng. Onella Nurunziza. Najani Palomino. Allison Pierce. Eli Peppinger. Sage Roknadini. Alexis Spears. Robert Stenzel. Jared Sullivan. Elizabeth Christine Tallman. Marzad Tardast. Tia Thomas. Than Tran. Celine Tufan. Catherine Tyransky. O'Shane Vaxiana. Luis Vacular. Matthew Wagner. Alex Walker. Maurice Walker. Jari Jung Zhang.
Finally, I will leave you with two quotations that I've mentioned to the school many times in the past. The first attributed to William James and is prominently displayed in the first floor of Roundy Hall. The great use of life is to spend it for something that will outlast it. The second is from Wendell Berry, an American novelist, poet, essayist, environmental activist, cultural critic, and farmer. There is a day when the road neither comes nor goes, and the way is not a way, but a place. I hope that Wayland has become and will continue to be that place for you as it has for me. Remember, you can always come home. Congratulations to all of you.
Once again, let us pray. May the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warmly upon your face, the rain fall softly upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand. Our dear graduates, may God bless you and keep you. May he rain his blessings upon you all the days of your life and keep you safe. God bless this class of 2020. And God bless Wayland Academy.
Like mighty guardians, stand both day and night, the lofty pillars, monuments to rise.